TGVs are iconic across Europe and today are synonymous with high-speed rail. But what if I told you that they might not have been the first high-speed train in the world? In fact, there were several different contenders who ran before the TGV. So today, we're going to take a look at the history of high-speed rail and see which train really deserves the crown of the first high-speed train. To understand where the TGVs fit in, we need to go back to the start of the 20th century. Before then, the fastest trains in the world were the so-called Atlantic locomotives that were used in the UK and France. These trains were originally developed for transatlantic travel, hence their name, and they were faster than anything that had come before. They were sleek, powerful, and most importantly for this story, fast. Some could reach speeds over 120 miles an hour, making them quite literally the fastest trains in the world. But as the century wore on, these designs started to look outdated. People wanted bigger and better things, and of course, faster trains too. And this set the stage for the first attempts at building purpose-built high-speed trains. Now, while it can be difficult to define exactly what a high-speed train is, generally speaking, a high-speed train is any train that travels at speeds higher than 150 miles per hour. With that definition in mind, the first contender for the title of the first high-speed train is Germany's ICE, or Intercity Express. The development of the ICE started in the 1970s, but it was officially unveiled to the public on May 27, 1979. Unlike the TGVs that would come later, the ICE was initially conceived as a way to transport long-distance freight. However, the German government soon realized the potential of the design and decided to convert many of the engines into passenger models. This was a smart move because at the time, passenger traffic was on the decline due to the rising popularity of air travel. But with the introduction of the ICE, Deutsche Bundesbahn, the German National Railway Company, hoped to attract more passengers back onto their trains. And they did this by focusing on three main selling points: speed, comfort, and convenience. The ICE was faster than any other train in Germany, and it was also more comfortable with wider seats, more legroom, and a restaurant car. Perhaps most importantly, though, the ICE was convenient. It stopped at major cities along its route, making it easy for passengers to get to and from their final destinations. Overall, the introduction of the ICE was a huge success for Deutsche Bundesbahn. Passengers loved the speed, comfort, and convenience of the new trains, and the company saw a big boost in revenue. In fact, the ICE was so successful that it helped turn around an entire industry. Before the ICE, passenger traffic in Europe was declining, but after its introduction, demand for train travel started to increase again. The ICE was so popular that other European countries started developing their own high-speed trains, and this set the stage for the next generation of rail travel. But while the ICE was one of the earliest high-speed trains in the world, it wasn't the first. That title belongs to another train developed in the 1960s, the British APT, or Advanced Passenger Train. Unlike the ICE, which was based on conventional rail technology, the APT was a completely new concept. It featured tilting bogies, which allowed it to take corners faster than any other train. This gave it the nickname the leaning train. The APT was also unique in that it didn't have a traditional cab at the front. Instead, it had a streamlined nose that helped it reduce air resistance and increase speed. Despite its unconventional design, the APT was incredibly successful. In tests, it reached speeds of over 140 miles an hour, which was much faster than any other train of the time. Unfortunately, the APT was never mass-produced. There were a number of reasons for this, including its high cost and complexity. But perhaps the biggest reason was that it was ahead of its time. The technology needed to support the APT simply did not exist in the 1960s. The British government eventually decided that the risks were too high and the project was abandoned. However, the story of the APT doesn't end here. In fact, the technology developed for the project had a profound impact on the future of rail travel. One of the main reasons that the APT failed was that the technology needed to support it did not yet exist. This included advanced signaling systems, as well as more powerful and efficient engines. However, by the 1980s, all of that had changed. New technologies had been developed that made it possible to build a high-speed train, and this led to the introduction of the next generation of rail titans. In the United States, for example, Amtrak launched the Acela, the first high-speed train to operate in the country. Meanwhile, In Japan, the Shinkansen, the world's first purpose-built high-speed train, was opened between Tokyo and Osaka. Then in France, the TGV was introduced in 1981. The TGV was unlike any train that had come before it. It was fast, sleek, and incredibly efficient. The result was a train that could easily rival air travel for short to medium distance journeys. Since its introduction, the TGV has been a massive success. Millions of passengers ride the TGV every year, and it has helped to make France one of the most connected countries in Europe. The TGV is not just a success story for France, but for high-speed rail as a whole. Its introduction has inspired other countries around the world to invest in their own high-speed rail networks. Today, high-speed rail is a common sight in many countries. From Spain to China, high-speed rail networks are helping to connect people and drive economic growth. So who really built the first high-speed train? Well, that's a little difficult to say. The answer depends on how you define high-speed train. If you go by the strictest definition, then the British Apt was the first true high-speed train. However, the Apt was never mass-produced, and it was until the ICE and the TGV hit the tracks that high-speed rail became a viable option for countries around the world. The ICE and the TGV were very similar in many ways. They were both fast, sleek, and incredibly efficient. Ultimately, though, it doesn't really matter which train was first. What matters is that these trains paved the way for a new era of rail travel. One of the most important aspects of high-speed rail is the infrastructure. In order for trains to travel at high speeds, they need to be on dedicated tracks. This is one of the reasons why high-speed rail is so expensive. Building dedicated tracks for high-speed trains is costly. However, the cost is worth it. Dedicated tracks allow trains to travel at higher speeds, and they also reduce the number of accidents. High-speed rail is safe, but it's important to remember that high-speed trains are still trains. They can derail and they can collide with other trains. However, the risk of this happening is extremely low. In fact, high-speed rail is one of the safest forms of transportation. High-speed trains are also environmentally friendly. They emit less carbon dioxide than airplanes or cars, and they use less energy than airplanes. When you take all of these factors into account, it's clear that high-speed rail is a win-win. It's fast, it's efficient, it's safe, and it's environmentally friendly. High-speed rail has the potential to revolutionize the way we travel. It can connect people and businesses around the world. It can help to reduce congestion on our roads, and it can help to protect the environment. However, it's important to remember that high-speed rail is not a panacea. It will not solve all of our transportation problems. It's expensive to build and maintain, and it does require a significant investment up front. Nevertheless, the benefits of high-speed rail far outweigh the costs. In my opinion, high-speed rail is one of the most important developments in transportation in recent years. It has the potential to change the way we live, work, and travel. And I, for one, am excited to see where high-speed rail takes us in the future. So what do you think? Do you think high-speed rail is the future of transportation? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Until next time, happy high-speed railing.